Hey there, welcome to episode 173 of Mike's Collection. I'm Mike, and to be honest, I don't know what part of my collection I'm going to talk about today. Usually when I sit down for one of these episodes, I have a clear plan in mind. Today I don't. I just have I got a lot of new toys this week, and there was a lot of new toy news. So I don't usually talk about toy news on this channel because I feel there's so many, channels out there specifically for that to show you all the new reveals and everything that comes out, and those things usually get posted immediately after the news drops, and so I'm never going to be first in line to give you the new news. But on the off chance maybe you're not somebody that watches other toy channels, maybe this is the only one you tune into, or if you're just interested in my thoughts on something, I figure maybe I'm going to try and talk about a little bit more toy news as it comes in. Not a ton, but just a little bit. And there was quite a bit of things that I want to talk about that happened this week. But yeah, it was also a big week for purchases. Now, I'll show you the new stuff I got just in the last 3 days. I'm not necessarily going to review all this stuff in this video because some of them are Marvel Legends, and I am planning to do a big Marvel Legends review because I've had a few figures piling up for a couple of months that I need to wrap them all up. But I wasn't really shopping for anything in particular this week. But just out of habit, every time I leave the house, I usually pop into GameStop or Walmart or something to see what they have. And I left the house on Wednesday and I found 2 toys. And I went out on Thursday and I found 2 toys. And then I went out on Friday and I found 2 toys. So it's been a pretty big week of purchases. So I'm just going to show you what I get. So first up, this is Despair. So this is kind of an obscure Marvel character. There, he's kind of this ghostly character, and he's from the Doctor Strange movie wave. Now, I'm not interested in most of those figures, partly because I have some of these characters from the first Doctor Strange movie. Like, I already have a Benedict Cumberbatch Doctor Strange, and I already have a Wong, I think. Maybe I don't have a Wong. But, I've got the villain. I just didn't really need most of these characters, so the only 2 I was really interested in was Despair and Sleepwalker. Now, Sleepwalker I ordered from Big Bad Toy Store, and he's in the mail right now. So probably when he arrives is when I'll get around to shooting my big Marvel Legends video, and we'll talk about Despair in a little bit more detail. But still, it was cool to find him. And then this one here, this is Baron Zemo. Now, he's kind of a one-shot. He was like a Walgreens exclusive, which here in Canada, they show up at our GameStops. So, I picked him up, and this is one I was really excited about because they released a Baron Zemo a few years ago, and he's a character that I really like, but I missed out on that previous version, so I've been really hoping they would re-release him. There's been many times when I've checked eBay to see how much I could get the previous released version for, and I've considered paying some of the pretty high prices people ask for him a couple of times, but then they announced this one a couple of months ago, and I was relieved I didn't have to buy the older one. But yeah, so I got this new one, so we'll review him when I get around to talk about all my Marvel Legends later. And then this one here, this is Captain America in the retro style packaging. So you see here, this label on the bottom says 20 years. So they're celebrating 20 years of Marvel Legends figures. And when Marvel Legends first came out, this is the kind of packaging they came on. These blister cards with the blue packaging. Like, it's a reproduction of the original Captain America. So they've done a couple of characters. They've done a Captain America, Iron Man, and the Hulk in this format. And they're a little bit more expensive. And I don't necessarily know why. Like, just toys are more expensive in general these days. It's actually a little ridiculous how much like Toys R Us is charging for. Like, my brother actually bought this figure at Toys R Us about a week before I got it. And I think it was $42.99 plus tax, which in Canada, here in Nova Scotia, specifically Canada, we have 15% like tax or whatever. So it was nearly $50 for a standard Marvel Legends figure, which like a year ago would have been $30 plus tax. So it's crazy how much things have gone up in such a short amount of time. Anyway, so this guy here, he was about $40. Now, fortunately, when I buy from GameStop, I have a discount card, so I get him for a little less than that. I think he was $36 for me or so. Is he really worth it? I don't know. It's not like he comes with a bunch of extra stuff, and if anything, he doesn't even come with a Build-A-Figure piece. Most Marvel Legends in this style packaging come with like a piece like this here, You see I've got a leg to a Build-A-Figure character, which is more valuable to me if I'm planning on building a character. This one here, all I get is some extra hands and an extra head. So all that stuff is great. But the reason I decided to pull the trigger on this one, even though I have other Captain Americas in my collection, is because this is probably the best looking Captain America they've ever done. It's definitely better than the other ones I have. So yeah, happy to get this guy. Again, we'll take a look at him outside the package when I do a Marvel Legends video soon. Now, the last Marvel Legends that I got, this one actually came out a while ago, like last year, and I considered picking it up because I'd seen it in stores, and I thought, this is a cool toy. If I buy this, this could even be a contender for my best of list. But at the same time, it was kind of expensive, and it's not a character I really have any attachment to, but it's kind of just like burned in the back of my brain ever since I saw it. Anyway, now I don't see it around as much anymore. For a little while, I saw it everywhere, and now I don't see it around. So I went into GameStop the other day. They had one there. I get my discount when I shop at GameStop. So I thought, you know what, I better pull the trigger on this, otherwise I might never get it. So this is the Hydra Stomper from the What If animated series on Disney+. So What If, you know, I'm sure you guys are probably familiar. So it was a comic book series. Now they've made it into a cartoon where it tells stories about, like, what if, you know, this happened instead of that happened. And so to be honest, I didn't really love the show. I thought it was okay. But I think it was the very first episode was what if Peggy Carter became the super soldier instead of Steve Rogers. And I bought that Peggy Carter, which is a Captain Carter action figure, and I loved it. That was a surprise hit for me. I wasn't even sure if I was going to buy that figure. And then when I got it in hand, it was such a beautiful figure. It actually made my best of list last year. And that's part of the reason why I decided to give this a second look. Because I was like, you know what? This I wanted right from the get-go, but I passed on it. Captain Carter, didn't really want so much. Got her, loved it. So this figure here, this was an expensive guy. I think before the discount, he was like $80. So I think he cost me like 71 or something. So not cheap. But, you know, he's big. He's heavy. Like, this is a heavy box. And, you know, it feels worth it. Like, I feel like I am getting a premium item. But, yeah, very cool. So I'm excited to open this guy up, which we'll do in a later video. These last two things that I got this week, maybe I'll review these in this episode. I don't know. So I got here the Masters of the Universe Revelation Triclops. Now, I've talked about these Revelation figures a few times in these videos. I really don't want to collect them. I liked the animated series. I know a lot of people didn't like the series. But even the people that didn't like the show and the storyline, I think they still appreciate these figures because they are nice figures. I don't think there's any denying that, really. But the thing is, I collected the Masters of the Universe Classics line for about 10 years, and I have a pretty close to complete collection of them, and they are excellent 6-inch figures of Masters of the Universe. They're everything I wanted out of my Masters of the Universe figures when I was a kid. You know, they're big, they're bright, they're durable. You know, they're pretty well articulated. They've got like some cool accessories. They're cool. And I am buying the Masters of the Universe Origins figures that are out now, which are the shorter, squattier, retro-style figures, because I feel like they kind of fill a different hole in my collection. It's a different thing. But when I look at these figures, I feel like these are pretty much in the same vein as the Classics figures. And I feel like I'm just rebuying toys I kind of already have. Now, they're not the exact same. These guys are actually better articulated than Classics figures. The sculpting is a little bit more contemporary. Anyway, I think it's great that these things exist because there's a lot of new Masters of the Universe collectors out there that won't have a chance to get the Classics figures because they're very expensive on the secondary market. You know, they were a collector's line, only available online. So yeah, it's great that people have a chance for these, but I thought I could pass on them. But I have slowly been buying more and more of them. I started with buying the Skelegod, and then I got Stinkor. Who else did I get? Somebody else. I just recently bought Scareglow, and now I've got Triclops. Now, Triclops, I can justify him a little bit more because he's got this whole extra outfit with an extra head, an extra robe, a cape. It's a whole other look for Triclops that we've never seen before, because in Revelation, he was kind of this religious zealot, and yeah, I think that kind of works for him. I'm definitely going to display him in the new look as opposed to the classic look because I already have that classic look on my shelf. Anyway, maybe we'll talk about him in this episode because he's kind of a one-off. And then the last thing I got is another new Spawn figure. I've been buying a lot of McFarlane's new Spawn figures lately. I think just in the past month or so, I posted 2 videos devoted to my new Spawn figures. So I got another one. So this is Soul Crusher. So this is one of Spawn's new villains. And as of the new issue of Spawn that I just read like this week, he looks like he might become an ally to Spawn now instead of a villain. We'll see. So anyway, I don't know a ton about this character, but he's pretty cool. And like all these McFarlane Spawn figures, the detail on the figure is really nice. He's got just a unique look to him. The box isn't super exciting, although it's got some nice artwork and everything on there. But again, because this is kind of a one-off, I only have one Spawn figure right now to show you. Maybe we'll take a look at him during this episode. So I just finished talking for another 20 minutes about various toy news, and then I thought I would do a couple reviews before I wrapped up the video. But I realized that it was just my talking head for about 40 minutes in this video, so I thought I would stick this review in here to kind of break it up. So here is Soul Crusher outside of the packaging. I just opened him up, and my first impression is that he looks pretty cool. Now, I did have a little trouble getting him to stand on his base. He comes with that standard Spawn base that we've been seeing with all of these figures the past year or so. And I appreciate that they gave him a base. I wish all toy companies gave us display bases, but I don't understand when they give us bases with only one peg. And clearly this guy has a wider stance than the base, so it makes it a little difficult for them to use properly. I kind of wish the base was just maybe a longer rectangle with 2 pegs that would definitely hold his weight. But anyway, that's what we got. Besides the base, he came with this little pistol. Looks pretty standard. And he also came with this larger rifle, which is silver, and then it's got this kind of rusty brown wash over the whole thing. I don't know if it really looks very realistic to have it painted this way, but I guess it's better than just solid silver. So, so here he is in detail. So if you were curious if his hood came off or his mask was removable or anything like that, that is not the case. So that's all locked in place pretty good. His head articulation, like you see this hood isn't connected to the cape, but because of the shape of this, it kind of limits the articulation. You can't turn his head around too much there. Otherwise, it looks like he's got the kind of articulation we're used to seeing. Double jointed elbows, double jointed knees, so good range of movement there. Should be able to go back even further. And then the ankles and even the toes articulated, so you should get a good range of movement there. You can see you can do the splits quite well. Yeah, some cool sculpted detail on this guy. I like all these buckles, this hose here. So it goes from his gas mask and it plugs into this little device on his back. The cape is pretty thick rubber, but it's got some bend to it, so you can squish it. But yeah, this guy's cool. So as I mentioned a minute ago, I don't know too much about this character. I had been a pretty loyal collector of Spawn comics for over 20 years. But I did decide to quit buying it around issue 260, and I only got back on board around issue 300. So there's about a 40 issue gap in my collection, and it was during that gap in time that this character first appeared. So I didn't really get to see his initial interactions with Spawn in the comic book. But I've been buying it pretty consistently since issue 300, and he's a cool looking character. And yeah, as of the most recent issue, spoiler alert, but I think somebody new has taken over the mantle of Soul Crusher from the original guy. And so where the original Soul Crusher seemed like a straight up Spawn villain, this new version seems like he might become an ally. Or at least, an uneasy ally like most of Spawn's friends. So, yeah, pretty cool. I like him. The gun looks like it should holster here on the leg. So let's just, so that clicks in place pretty good there. As far as the other gun, looks like it should fit in his hand without much problem. Finger wraps around there. So there you go. Looks pretty cool. I think this guy will display nicely with my other recent Spawn figures from McFarlane Toys. So what else do I want to talk about? So toy news. I want to talk a little bit about Super7. So if you're familiar with Super7, they are kind of a small little toy company based out of San Francisco, I believe. I first kind of became aware of them when they took over the Masters of the Universe Classics license from Mattel. So I just mentioned that Mattel had been doing this collector line, selling it exclusively online, and they did that for close to 10 years, but then it was kind of running out of steam, and I think Mattel kind of didn't want to do it anymore, and then Super7 kind of raised their hand and said, hey, can we continue to do those figures? And so for 2 to maybe 3 years, Super7 took over the license and just kind of continued making Masters of the Universe Classics characters, and they made some pretty cool toys. Some people have the complaints about maybe the quality of plastic or everybody had little complaints about Super7. The prices shot up when Super7 took over the license too, but that's kind of maybe to be expected because they are a smaller company. They don't have the margins that Mattel does. But I was pretty pleased with pretty much all the Masters of the Universe figures I got from Super7. But then they took that Masters of the Universe Classics line, they changed the name to Masters of the Universe Ultimates, and then they took that Ultimates moniker and kind of put it onto other brands. So then they started doing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Ultimates, Voltron Ultimates, Conan Ultimates, all kinds of Ultimates. And I've bought quite a few of them. And they also do, the other major line is reaction figures, which are those little 3 3/4 inch figures that I've got pinned up on the wall here that are done in that retro Kenner Star Wars style. They do really nice, possibly the best versions of these figures in these nice 6-7 inch Ultimates figures. And then they do also very rinky-dinky versions of oftentimes the same characters in these little reaction figure lines. And unfortunately, I'm cursed with liking both formats. So I've been buying a lot of both the reaction and the Ultimates line. So one of the brands that Super7 has the license for is Godzilla. And it seemed to take a long time before we knew what they were going to do with the license. Because I was collecting the Godzilla figures that NECA had been putting out for a couple of years, and I really liked what NECA was doing. My biggest complaint with NECA is that it seemed like they could only make Godzilla figures. Their licensing didn't seem to expand beyond the main character, so they couldn't do all of the other Toho monsters, which was kind of a bummer, because I ended up with a shelf full of Godzillas and not really anybody else for him to fight. So they lost the license, which was a bummer because I didn't know what was going to happen to it. But then it was quickly announced that Super7 was going to be picking it up, and I was like, cool, that means Super7 is probably going to be making reaction figures and Ultimates figures. And then it took months and months before we got any news about what Super7 was planning on doing. And then when they finally revealed their first figure, it was a reaction figure, and it was based on the old Shogun Godzilla toy, which was cool. It was kind of a neat little oddity. But that Shogun Godzilla is a weird-looking Godzilla. Like that toy from the 70s that it's based on did not have a very good likeness to Godzilla. But I understand that a lot of people have like a nostalgic attachment to that Godzilla figure they had when they were a kid. So that's cool that they made a miniaturized, reaction figure version of that. And I bought that figure. And it was available exclusively on Super7's website. And that's kind of a pain in the ass when they do that, because I buy most of my online toys from Big Bad Toy Store. What I like about Big Bad is that they have a pile of loot function. So you can buy something one day and then it just sits in the pile of loot, and then you can buy another thing another day, another thing another day, and then you can finally say, please ship all this stuff together. So that way you have 5 or 6 things piled up, and the shipping, is much cheaper to kind of lump everything together. Because a lot of other online places, you buy a thing and you put it in your cart and it gives you the shipping and you have to pay for it. Even if you order something from that website 5 minutes later, you have to add additional, a whole new shipping and everything like that. And it's a real pain in the ass. So I like buying from Big Bad Toy Store. And most reaction figures end up for sale on Big Bad Toy Store. So I buy a lot of them from there. But every now and again, Super7 says, we've got a new toy and it's only available on our website. So when they do that, I find Super 7 has their shipping is more expensive than Big Bad. Also, I tend to always get dinged for custom charges when it comes over the border. It happens about 50% of the time with Big Bad Toy Store, but it happens every time with Super 7. So they announced that they had that first Godzilla figure exclusive to their website. I bought it. It sold out super quick. It was in real high demand. I saw a lot of people complaining that they logged on and it was sold out, within the first hour and all that sort of stuff. Now, Super 7 did re-release that figure 2 more times in slightly different color schemes. So hopefully everybody that wanted one was able to get one. But as a Godzilla fan, I didn't love that Shogun Godzilla anyway. I bought the first one just because it was their first reaction Godzilla, and I kind of thought this is going to be the first of many, and I want a nice diverse reaction figure collection, and I don't want to miss out on the first one. So that first little reaction figure cost me about $60 because it's about $30 Canadian once you factor in the conversion, because I think it's about $20 American initially, and then the shipping for one little figure was about $30 too. And I might have got dinged on the customs as well, and I don't even know. It might end up costing me $70 for a little 3-inch figure. Anyway, so I got that figure. And then they put out the 2 repaints of it. I bought one of the repaints. I did not buy the other because I kind of thought, are they just going to keep releasing this same Shogun Godzilla over and over and over again? Like, I want to see some new molds. I want to see Godzilla based on the movie, based on the comic book, based on the cartoon, like based on the modern movies. Give me something different. So I've been waiting for that. And so then last week, they finally revealed that they were going to put out a new Godzilla reaction figure with a whole new sculpt, and it was going to be exclusive to their website. So I thought, okay, I'm going to have to buy from Super 7 directly. I might as well see what other figures they have on their website that I can kind of lump together to at least, if I'm going to pay $30 shipping, I'd rather pay $30 shipping to ship 5 or 6 figures instead of 1, because then in my mind I can kind of, divide it up and justify it a little bit more. So simply because of that one Godzilla figure I wanted, I went on Super 7's website, bought my Godzilla. He's in the mail right now. I'll probably have him in a couple of days and I'll be able to review him. And I ended up buying, I think, 4 other reaction figures, some Universal Monsters, another G.I. Joe one, and I lumped them all together. So that's on its way to me. But that still ended up costing me about $120. And I was like, okay, so there you go. $120 basically just to get one little Godzilla figure, but so be it. But then literally, I think it was like the day after I ordered that, then Super 7 announced that they were having a warehouse sale. And they said, we have changed warehouses, and in the process, we unearthed a whole bunch of toys that were previously sold out, and they're going to be available on our website for a limited time. So I thought, well, shit, I wish I had known that was going to happen, because also the Godzilla figure that I rushed to buy, it is still available on their website. So where the first one sold out in an hour, and you were never able to get it again, this one is still available like weeks later now. So if I had known that, I would have held off, and then I would have been able to lump that together with things from the warehouse sale. But anyway, that's toy collecting for you. So the warehouse sale came. Again, there was a couple of figures that I really wanted, a couple more that I kind of wanted, but I thought, well, I might as well buy another little batch of them to justify the shipping. So I bought another $120, $130 worth of reaction figures just a couple of days later. That one I haven't even got a ship notification for yet, but hopefully I get that soon. And I'll have another box of reaction figures in the mail coming right behind the first one. So that's what's going on with my reaction figure purchases. So I got all that, spent a little bit more than I was planning to on toys between those 2. And then I went out and I found these 6 things that I showed you earlier. So I was like, okay, this is going to be kind of an expensive toy week. And then I got an email notification from Big Bad Toy Store telling me that one of my pre-order items is going to be in stock in the next few days, and that they're going to charge my credit card. Now, they do that sometimes. It doesn't seem to be super consistent, but sometimes I pre-order things for like months, if not years in advance. Like, I've had some things that I pre-ordered like nearly 2 years ago from Big Bad Toy Store, and sometimes they just show up in my cart and my credit card gets charged. Other times I get that email to kind of give me a heads up that it's coming. Anyway, this figure that I got the email about just the other day is for probably the second largest toy purchase I've ever made. It is a big figure. It's one I'm really excited about. It's definitely a contender for my toy of the year. I've been wanting this toy since I was a little kid, and I'm really excited that it's finally coming. but it came sooner than I was expecting. It's pretty expensive, so I'm going to take a pretty big hit on my credit card in the next day or two, and so that kind of sucks. So I might not have went nuts on the Super 7 reaction figures and all this stuff had I known that I was going to get charged for this big item from Big Bad Toy Store. But hopefully I have some more news on that in the coming weeks. So what else about Super 7? Yeah, so about Godzilla. So they've had that license now for a year or so, and we still hadn't heard anything about their Ultimates Godzilla. Were they even planning on doing it? Well, this week they finally revealed their first 2 figures from their Ultimates Godzilla line. And they look really nice. However, I was a little disappointed at the price point. Now, most of their Ultimates figures retail, they started retailing for about $45 US, and now they've crept up to about $55 US. And to me, that translates to about $75 to me here in Canada. So you're paying $75 for a 6-inch figure. Sure, it's got a lot of accessories and all that stuff, but it's still a lot of money. It's hard to collect a full line at $75 a pop. Like I can collect Marvel Legends at $30 easily, but if every Marvel Legend was $75, I would definitely have to start getting choosy. So yeah, so they revealed their Godzilla, and these figures are $85 American each. Now, I'm not exactly shocked that they jumped the price up from $55 to $85, because Godzilla is a larger character than, say, a Ninja Turtle or a He-Man figure. He's got a big, long tail. He probably stands a little taller. Not a lot taller, though. He's still only 7 to maybe 8 inches. Now, he's, I think, 12 inches wide with his tail. But still, $85, that's a big ask, because that's going to be over $100 as far as Canadian. So if I was hoping to build a big collection of Godzilla Ultimates figures, even at, $55 US, that was a big ask. But at $85 US, I don't think I can really do it. I can't collect all the figures. I might have to just get my favorites. Anyway, the Godzilla they made looks really cool. I would like to get it, but they didn't show us a whole lot. Super 7 usually releases these little videos to kind of showcase when they announce new figures. And they showed us the accessories, which there aren't many. For an Ultimates figure, they initially build Ultimates as something that has every accessory you could ever want with these figures. And early on, they did overdo it. Like Ninja Turtles have 10 sets of hands. They have pizza boxes. They have nunchucks. They have all kinds of stuff. This Godzilla's got a couple of extra hands. He's got an extra accessory to wrap around his neck. And he's got 2 heads. And I think that's everything. And the 2 heads seem a little redundant, because one of them he's got an open mouth and one of them he's got a closed mouth. When you would think they could just make a Godzilla whose mouth opens and closes. That's what NECA did. That's what a lot of toy makers do. It doesn't seem like rocket science to put a little hinge on the jaw. So it seems a little shady almost to sell that as a whole extra piece. Like, look, you get an extra head with an open mouth. Because I'm not going to take my Godzilla's head off every time I want to open his mouth or whatever. So anyway, but they didn't even give us his atomic breath. A lot of NECA's Godzilla figures came with a translucent plume of smoke or something to shoot out of his mouth. So I'm surprised the Super 7 didn't do that. I was really hoping that as an Ultimates Godzilla, it might even come with some little buildings and stuff that he could stomp on, maybe some little tanks. I think that would be really cool. So for them to charge $85, call it Ultimates, I feel it's a little lacking. Also, they didn't show us its articulation. So he's got this big long tail, but I don't know if it's just going to be one big stiff thing that's going to take up all kinds of room on my shelf, or is it got a wire, or is it got 10 points of articulation so you can bend it around and you can fit them on your shelf. I don't know. So with those unknowns, I did not pre-order them. I'm not ruling out buying them completely, but I might pass on this first wave of Ultimates. Maybe I'll wait and see what the reviews are like, and maybe I'll wait. Maybe I'll just get wave 2. I don't know. But anyway, the other figure they announced with Godzilla is Bialante. So this is Godzilla's plant-based villain. Now, he's cool. This is not a character that gets a whole lot of action figure love. I don't have a Bialante in my collection at all. He's definitely a character I would want. And this figure looks nice, but it's not the Bialante I think about when I think Bialante. Because basically, that movie, he started off as a small thing, and he grew and grew into a much larger thing. And the final form of Bialante, for the big final fight, he wrapped his vines around Godzilla, which that's the accessory I mentioned. So there's a vine that wraps around Godzilla's neck. And he kind of started taking Godzilla's form. And he ended up with this big crocodile-looking head. And so most images, if you Google Godzilla versus Bialante, you see Godzilla fighting this big crocodile-looking thing with all these vines. Anyway, Super7 went with an earlier form of Bialante, and he's basically just got a big rose with teeth for a head. So he's still flower form. He hasn't fully evolved. And it's still neat looking. Like, it would look different than anything else I have in my collection. And it's got two heads. So it's got a rose head with just kind of clenched teeth, and then it's got a rose head with like biting teeth. I think that's cool, but I really think they should have also had a crocodile head to swap on there. I would feel justified in paying $85 if I could swap between the rose version and the crocodile version. But when I see what they've given us there, I feel like they're probably going to re-release this sometime down the line with the crocodile head. And even though the rose head looks nice, if I had to choose one or the other, I would definitely go with the crocodile head. So, waiting a year to see what their Ultimates figures were going to be, I'm a little disappointed with the reveal. I don't know how others feel. When I looked at the comments on like their YouTube video when they revealed their toys, and when I look at Facebook on some of the pictures people have shared, the comments seem to be mostly positive. And I get that because the sculpts are really nice. The figures look big, they're bright. They look good, but just for one, the price is really high, and what you get for that price, I definitely think they could have done more. So that's how I feel about Godzilla Ultimates. Some other news with Ultimates. So one of the sets of figures that I pre-ordered, and it's been more than 2 years since I pre-ordered them, was Thundercats Wave 2. So Super7 produced Thundercats Wave 1. Even that took a good long time to get out to fans. Then they put up Wave 2, Wave 3, Wave 4, and I think even Wave 5 now. I pre-ordered... I don't order whole waves because I'm not a big Thundercats fan, but I ordered 1 or 2 figures from each wave. So from Wave 1, I ordered Lion-O. I've got Lion-O on my shelf. I've showed you him before. From Wave 2, I ordered Mumra and Tigra. From Wave 3, I ordered Slythe. And from Wave 4, I ordered Monkeyan. Anyway, I got my Slythe from Wave 3 last year, a couple of months ago, and I still don't have Wave 2. So somehow Wave 3 managed to ship before Wave 2, and there's a good chance Wave 4 might even hit before or right around the same time as Wave 2. The reasoning for that, I won't get into it all, but basically COVID hit, that caused some problems. The factory that was originally doing Wave 2, I don't know if it folded or put the toys aside to focus on other things, but Super7 had to go through a whole rigmarole to move the production from one factory to another, and so it fell behind. Whatever the story is, it took a long time. It's been more than 2 years. And so they finally revealed that these figures are arriving, and they're going to start shipping out very soon. And the Mumra looks pretty cool. I'm looking forward to getting him. But then they showed images of the Tigra, like for people that are getting this Tigra figure in hand. So images are starting to show up online. And this might seem, I don't know, maybe I'm being picky or being a diva, but I saw it and I just kind of cringed at this thing. Because I'm not, like I said, I'm not a diehard Thundercats fan. But when I saw the prototype of Tigra, when they first pitched this as a pre-order, I thought that figure looks awesome. I love the way this figure looks. And now I'm seeing the final product after 2.5 years, and I just think it looks way cheaper. Like, it looks junky, and that's mostly because of the god-awful paint job. The prototype had a nice, subtle orange paint job, so his flesh tone face kind of bled into the soft orange quite nicely. Now, I don't even know if that's accurate to the character. I've seen a lot of comments saying that this new paint job is more accurate to the cartoon, and so some people seem to really like it. But this new paint job, he's got this bright orange skin, and so the flesh tone really is a stark contrast, and I just think he looks goofy. He looks like a clown. His outfit has changed color. I just don't like it. So fortunately, since I pre-ordered from Big Bad Toy Store, they don't charge your card until the items ship. So I was looking at this figure and I was like, should I cancel this pre-order? Like, maybe I'll get it in hand and maybe I'll like it, and it will suck if I cancel the pre-order and then I see a bunch of reviews pop up online and people are saying, no, it's not as bad as those initial images looked, you should get it, but then it's sold out and then I can't get it anymore. But after looking at a couple images, I was like, you know what, this figure is not worth $75 to me. If I saw it at Walmart for $30 and the paint job was a little off, maybe I'd buy it, but not for $75. So I canceled my Tigra. So that's kind of a bummer, to wait for a figure for 2.5 years and then see what it looks like and then say I don't want that anymore and drop it. So anyway, hopefully the Mumra is good. It looks good. I haven't seen anybody complaining about that. So it looks like it's going to be a big, awesome figure. So looking forward to that. Another news with the Ultimates. Another figure I've been waiting a long time for is my Conan Ultimates Wave 3. So I pre-ordered Warpaint Conan and kind of snake version Thulsa Doom. So these are figures that I pre-ordered, I don't know, it's been 2 years, year and a half, I don't know, quite a while ago. And yeah, people are starting to get those now. There's reviews showing up online. They're showing up on Instagram. And I got an email from Big Bad Toy Store to say that mine are now in stock. So they're sitting in my pile of loot. I can ship them out whenever. So I will probably do that in the next week. And hopefully I have them in, say, 3 or 4 weeks from now. And I can review them for you. I'm looking forward to those. They've also revealed, they just gave a teaser of their third wave of G.I. Joe Ultimates. Now, they haven't produced any of these things yet. I pre-ordered all of Wave 1, all of Wave 2. There are 4 figures in each wave. And now they just gave a teaser that Storm Shadow is going to be in Wave 3. So I assume we're going to get another 4 figures up for pre-order very soon. And I'm excited to get them. However, this stuff with the Thundercats being disappointing and the fact that the prices are going up, I am starting to question whether I need to slow down a little bit on these Ultimates figures. Because with Super7's Ultimate Transformers and their Ultimate G.I. Joe, they've got 3 waves out for each one. 4 figures per wave, $75 Canadian a pop. So we're talking like $300 a wave for like 4 figures. And I don't know if I need them that badly. Like, I already have a huge collection of Transformers that actually transform. And I've talked on this channel many times before how I actually prefer Transformers that don't transform and look cartoon accurate, like these little reaction figures. So their Ultimates figures are right up my alley. But for that price, do I really need to buy every one they put out? Maybe I should become a little choosier. And G.I. Joe, I'm an even bigger G.I. Joe fan than I am a Transformer fan, so it'd be a little harder for me to skip any G.I. Joe character. But, the fact that Hasbro is producing their 6-inch G.I. Joe classified line, it makes it a little tougher to swallow that $75 pill to buy a 6-inch figure from Super7 of the same characters. Like, I just got a 6-inch Lady Jane Flint from Hasbro last year, and now those are 2 of the figures that I'm going to get this year from Super7, except Hasbro's were $30 a piece, Super7's are $75. I don't know if I can do it. So I am kind of questioning my approach with Ultimates going forward, but we'll see what happens from there. Anyway, I think that's all I had for Super7 toy news. The only other news I kind of wanted to talk about, I guess, is Mattel revealed a whole bunch of their upcoming Masters of the Universe figures, both from the Revelation line, which is kind of a subline of their Masterverse line. So Masterverse isn't necessarily going to just be dedicated to Revelation going forward. They want to include some other things, and these reveals kind of show that. They've actually got Masterverse versions of the new, like, goofy-looking Netflix characters, the CG, He-Man and Skeletor. So they're making them as part of this line, so a more articulated version than what we're seeing in stores now. They've also got a new 40th anniversary, which makes me feel really old. It seems like just yesterday when most of my childhood toy lines were celebrating their 25th anniversaries and stuff, and now we're getting to 40th anniversaries. Anyway, so the 40th anniversary He-Man's coming out. He looks pretty nice. A bunch of other cool characters that I'm looking forward to. Some characters that I missed out on in the Classics line, like Hero. So they're adding him. There's a new Battle Armor He-Man with a beard. He looks pretty cool. So yeah, there's a lot of cool figures coming from Masterverse and also for Origins too. They revealed some members of the Horde are coming. So we're getting Grizzlor, Leech, and my favorite is Mantena. So right behind Merman in my favorite Masters of the Universe characters of all time is Mantena. And I thought for sure when they did Mantena, if they even got around to doing him in the Origins line, that he would have his 4 legs kind of all stuck together. The old figure, the character was always supposed to have 4 legs, but the figure only had 2 legs, but it was kind of sculpted so it looked like there was 2 legs on each side, just kind of smushed together. And since the Origins line is kind of just an update of the retro line, I thought they would redo it the same way. But to my pleasant surprise, they've actually given him 4 distinct legs, which is similar to how they approached it in the Classics line. So that's really cool. Looking forward to that. So, yeah. I guess that's all the news I have to talk about. So anyway, this video is already gone pretty long. Maybe I'll throw a couple little toy reviews here at the end, just so you're not staring at my head the whole time here. And then we'll wrap this up. So whenever I buy a toy nowadays, it's kind of become my ritual to show it to you guys, both on Instagram and on one of these videos. So sometimes I buy something random and, I just kind of want to throw it on my shelf, but I feel I can't do that until I've showed it to you guys. So this figure here, this is not a new figure. This figure here is probably more than 10 years old, but it's new to me. So this is the character Metron. He is one of the new gods from DC's universe, and he was created and designed by Jack Kirby. And, Jack Kirby, most famously known for basically co-creating Marvel with Stan Lee. Not nearly as well known for that as he should be, but where Stan Lee wrote a lot of the early comics, Jack Kirby did most of the early drawings and designed the look of a lot of the most famous Marvel superheroes. Anyway, I'm a big fan of Jack Kirby's artwork. I wasn't so much when I was a kid. It really kind of, I had to grow into it a little bit, but I've become a huge fan. And a number of years ago, DC Direct put out this line of New Gods figures based on Jack Kirby's artwork. And I thought they just did a great job of capturing the look of Jack Kirby's drawings. Like, it's very kind of boxy, even just the shape of his hands, the shape of his face. It's got some very, bold lines. I think this just translates really well. So, when this line came out, I actually bought quite a few of them. I can't remember exactly how many figures were in this particular line, but for whatever reason, Metron is one of the figures I did not buy. So just recently I was at one of the local comic book shops in my area called Giant Robot Comics. They have some big glass cabinets filled with loose figures that people have traded in. And I saw Metron there, and he was $9.99 used. So I thought, you know what, I should add him to my New Gods shelf. Because you'll see here are some of the other New Gods I have from that collection. I've had some of these figures for years. So there's Big Barda. Here is Orion. I've got Light Ray. The most famous one being Darkseid. And then Mr. Miracle. Now, one thing I'll mention before I move on, this is just a weird little thing with this particular line of toys. I have a whole bunch of figures from DC Direct, and most of them I've had for 10 plus years. These New Gods ones specifically, they deteriorate in a very weird way. And I was curious about picking up this Metron, seeing as he was in somebody else's collection, and he's clearly been loose and open, probably since this line first came out, and he feels fine. He's in good shape. Some of the joints are a little loose. But yeah, he feels good. It's a solid figure. My Big Barda from this line, similarly, still holds up. Great figure. It's still in great shape. These other guys, I don't know what it is about the plastic DC Direct used for these guys. And I don't know why it happens to some and not others. I don't know if this is the case for everybody that has Orion in their collection, or if it's just something about where he's housed in my house. My man cave is kind of in my basement, so maybe it gets a little cold in here sometimes. I don't know what the factors would be. Like I said, this only happens to these particular figures. If you can see, he's got this glossy, wetness to him, and he feels sticky. If I touch him, my fingers, stick like he's covered in glue or something. The plastic is literally just kind of melting away. And it's very weird. The same thing with Mr. Miracle. You notice that wetness on him. This guy was just sitting on a shelf with all my other figures, and I'm not sure why this happens to him. Look at that. I figure someday I'm just going to come in, there's just going to be a green and red puddle of liquid where this figure once stood. It's very bizarre. Light Ray as well. He's very sticky, and he's getting this yellow gook where the plastic is just rotting away. And this is not, anything that I did to him. When I bought this figure, he was in package. He was all nice, kind of pearlescent white like this. I put him on my shelf. I didn't spill anything on him or anything. He just started yellowing, and he's got this gook forming in his joints, and it's sticky to the touch. You see little dust bunnies are sticking to him. I don't understand it. And saddest of all is Darkseid, because this is a brilliant Darkseid figure. I think it's the best Darkseid figure they've ever made. I love it. But sadly, he's got that same issue. He's getting some of that weird, melty, yellowy plastic, and all the little dust bunnies are sticking to it. Weird stuff. Anyway, at least that's not happening to Metron. At least not yet. So hopefully he holds up. So the next thing I'm going to quickly talk about is a couple of Funko Pops. I've had these things for a couple of months. I got them in 2021. So yeah, I've been sitting on them for a while. I just haven't been able to put them away because I haven't talked to you guys about them. So I want to get that over with, and then I can tuck them away. I realize that probably a lot of people that watch this for action figure news and reviews aren't interested in Funko Pops. But I like these things. I have a pretty big collection of them. I'll make this quick. But you see here, I've got Erin Hannon from The Office and Yara Flor from DC Comics. She's kind of like their new Wonder Woman character. Here they are outside of the packaging. So first up, let's take a look at Yara Flor. Now, they both come with display bases. I wish all Funko Pops came with display bases. They tend to give them to the female characters because I guess the females have, slimmer bodies and slender legs, and they can't hold their weight as well, so they give them these display bases. But she, for whatever reason, it doesn't fit in her. The hole on her foot does not match up with this peg. I've never run into this problem before, but anyway, doesn't seem to work with her. Anyway, if you're not familiar with her, as you can see, she's very Wonder Woman-esque. Her outfit, she's got those Wonder Woman colors, the red, blue, and the gold. She doesn't have a lasso, but she's got this kind of like bolo, which works kind of the same way. She's got this little tiara. So this is a character that was just introduced, I want to say last year, maybe it was 2020. But I really like this character. The thing is, I'm a big comic book collector, but I don't read very much DC at all. And I want to. I like a lot of DC characters, but they just constantly reboot everything. And as a long-term comic book fan, I like continuity. And when they reboot things with the New 52 and then the Rebirth and stuff, and they tell you that everything you read before doesn't matter, we're starting fresh, that stuff kind of turns me off. But I'm always looking for new jumping on points to kind of maybe give DC a chance. And like I said, I think it was last year they did a series called Future State, where they just did a bunch of new comic books, and it was these characters that we never seen before in a lot of cases, and they said, this is the future, maybe a couple of years in the future or many years in the future. This is what the DC's universe might look like. So they had a new comic book called Future State Wonder Woman, and it had this character, Yara Flora. She's a Brazilian woman, and she was the new Wonder Woman. And it was drawn by Joelle Jones, who I think is one of the best artists working in comic books today. So I thought, okay, well, an interesting new character drawn by Joelle Jones. I'll give it a try. I really liked those 2 issues. It was only a 2-issue miniseries. I thought it was great. And I guess a lot of people thought she was pretty great because it was very quickly announced that Yara Flor was now going to be introduced into the regular continuity of the DC universe, and she was going to have her own comic book. She was going to be Wonder Girl, because in this present day, she's only Wonder Girl. Future State hinted that she would eventually graduate to be Wonder Woman. But Joelle Jones wrote and drew the series. And as great as an artist as she is, I don't think she's a great writer. I found the Wonder Girl comic book to be very confusing. It was all over the place. I did not like her dialogue for Yara Flor. She was very jokey and cheesy and just didn't strike me as like how a real teenager would talk. I don't know. It was corny and confusing. And again, I guess I'm not the only one that found it that way because it was canceled after a mere 7 issues. So that's too bad. I think they created a really interesting character with a lot of potential, but then because, some poor writing, this character kind of just got dropped and forgotten. So I don't know what her future is going to be like. But anyway, I really liked that character, and I really wanted an action figure of her, especially based off of Joelle Jones's artwork. But we haven't heard any announcements of this figure coming out, and the fact that her series got canceled, maybe they're not going to rush to make one. So when I saw they were making this Funko Pop, even though I don't typically buy a lot of Funko Pops for characters that I can get in other action figure form, I usually only buy Funko Pops of characters like The Office who aren't going to get regular action figures. I would much prefer a regular action figure of her, but I thought I would better buy this for the time being, so at least I can have Yara Flor represented in my collection. And as far as Funko Pops go, I think it is pretty nice. So yeah, there you go. Now, as for Aaron Hannon, either you watch The Office and you love these characters, or you don't. I'm not really keen on sitcoms in general, but The Office I absolutely love. It's mine and my wife's favorite show, and we watch it over and over and over and over again. We never seem to get bored of it, and I don't think I can really say that about any other show. Maybe Seinfeld, but anyway, it's a great show, and I really wanted to get all of the characters. I have most of the cast of The Office now. Aaron Hannon was one of the last characters I needed, so yeah, of course I'm going to buy it when they put it out, and yeah, it's a fun little figure. Not much more to say about that. I've got one other thing I guess I could mention actually about The Office and about Funko Pops. For Christmas this year, my wife Vanessa bought me an advent calendar where every single day for 24 days you get to pop open a little window and you got a miniature Funko Pop based on The Office. So you get a lot of the main characters. So for example, here's Jim, but then you also got some kind of different costumes and outtakes. So there was an episode of The Office where it was kind of a spoof of a James Bond movie, and here's Jim playing the villain Golden Face. Same as with Michael Scott, the Steve Carell character. Here's the standard one where he's got his little mug that usually would say "World's Best Boss." But then you also get Mike as Prison Mike. You also get him as his classy Santa. Anyway, it was a really fun set. And just to give you an idea of size-wise how these things pair up, you can see they're just little teeny minifigures compared to standard Funko Pops. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. Revealing one of these figures every day. I didn't know which characters were going to be in there. There actually was no Erin, so I guess it's good that I've got her. She's kind of freakishly large compared to the rest of the gang, but at least she's there. But one thing that was kind of disappointing about this set is I was hoping that it would give me some fun new characters. Because like I said, I have most of the Office cast in the regular size there. There's only a handful of characters that I don't have. And this was a good opportunity, I felt, for Funko to give me some really more obscure characters that maybe wouldn't sell very well as the larger pop. This is a good example of one. This is Dwight's cousin Mose, and I don't think they've made Mose in the larger format. So to get him in this little smaller one, that was pretty great. But I think this is the only character that they really did that hasn't already been done in the larger format. Even these Michael Scotts in the alternate costumes are available in the larger format. So anyway, one of the things I was hoping, not only for some unique characters, but some of the main characters from The Office, such as Erin, who I didn't have yet. I got her right around Christmas. So I got this advent calendar at the start of December. And I was thinking it would be nice to get characters like Erin and Phyllis, who are main characters that I don't have in my larger collection. Anyway, as I went through this for 24 days, one of the days had this figure of Ryan Howard. Now, for one, I don't think this is a great representation of Ryan. This is identical to the larger Ryan figure that I have. And when I reviewed that one a couple of months ago, I kind of complained about it too. Because BJ Novak, who plays this character, he did have kind of blonde frosted tips for a little while, and he occasionally wore these dark-rimmed glasses when he was trying to be a hipster. But it is not his most iconic and recognizable look. So I think it's kind of weird that they went with this full blonde and big glasses for Ryan. Anyway, so not only is this not a great Ryan figure, but I got two of them in my calendar, which I'm sure was a mistake. There's no way I should get duplicates in this advent calendar. So I called Funko, or I sent them an email, and I said, is there any way you can send me the replacement character who was supposed to be in this set? They said they could not help me. So I was like, okay, well, that sucks, but no big deal. But anyway, my wife went a step further. She had pre-ordered this from GameStop, and she contacted GameStop, And it took them a couple of months, but they sent us in the mail just the other day a whole new advent calendar. So now I went from having 2 doubles to having all these characters in duplicate. Anyway, I was able to finally get the character that should have been in my set, which was Phyllis. So I know Phyllis is kind of a weird character to get excited about, but it was definitely a glaring hole in the collection here, and it was disappointing to miss out on her almost more than anybody else, because most of these figurines I already have larger versions of, but I don't have a Phyllis. Anyway, so thank you, Vanessa, for going that extra mile. Thank you, GameStop, for sending out a replacement copy. And now I just got to figure out where I'm going to put all these things. So I hope you enjoyed those reviews. I hope you didn't mind me just rambling on about toy news and what's going on with me lately. But I guess I'll know if you guys liked that or not by the number of views I get. So if you liked it, please hit the like button. Leave me comments below. Let me know, yeah, we want to hear your thoughts on toy news more often, or no, don't do that. Stick to just doing reviews. That's all very helpful and appreciated. So good or bad, please let me know down below. Please like and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, that's it. I'll be back soon with either a Marvel Legends video or a reaction figure video, or something else entirely. Who knows? Anyway, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Ciao.